This meeting is being recorded.
So what is incremental refresh? What is one-time data refresh? These are the two terms. You must have heard it as part of the data warehousing. If you worked on any analytics project on the BI business intelligence project, definitely the customer might be using, they would have used a data warehouse to store their historical data. So in the case of data warehouse, what happens once they set up the data warehouse, from the source system, whatever the data that are available, let's say in the source system, you have 2 years data are available or 10 years data is available. The entire 10 years data, you will be loading it on a specific day. For example, 1st Jan 2023, you have loaded last 5 years data because 5 years back only started your business. Last 5 years data, you have the last 5 years, the entire data till Jan 1st, 2023, you have loaded into a data warehouse. Why data warehouse? We need to do data analysis. For that, we need to have a separate database, which is nothing but data warehouse. The case of data warehouse, you use dimensional modeling technique to design the data model, the star schema, and so on. Okay. Once you have created the tables in your data warehouse, you need to have the historical data there. Initially, it will be blank. All the tables will not have any records. So you need to take the last 5, because 5 years back when you start your business, in the last 5 years data, you just load it into data warehouse until this 1st Jan 2023. Listen very carefully. 2nd Jan 2023 onwards, if any new record comes in, even that data should also get into my data warehouse, because the data warehouse should have the historical data. For example, let's say I need to have 10 years data in my data warehouse. So far, as of Jan 1st, 2023, I have loaded only 5 years data in it. Okay, everyday data also I need to load it. Sometimes the weekly load will be there. So the first 5 years data which you loaded in data warehouse is called your one-time data refresh. And then from 2nd Jan onwards, when you loaded anything. Yes, Ramya, the screen is shared. So why any issues? How about others? Okay, you can see now. Okay. What I will do is I'll pass and share it. Sometimes what will happen, my screen will freeze. If it is there, you tell me. I will just pass and reshare it so that it will be refreshed in your screen. So the one-time data refresh is something like you're loading the historical data, 5 years data at once. Once you load 5 years data, that is not the end of the story, because you are continuing your business. You did not close your business. Last 5 year data you loaded until this year, 1st Jan 2023. So from 2nd Jan onwards, whatever the data comes into your source system, even that data should get into your data warehouse. Whatever the new data comes in after the the one-time load. What is the one-time load? The 5 years data which I loaded it in bulk. That is my one-time data load. So after this, right after the bulk load, the 5 years data, whatever the new data comes in into my source system, even that data needs to be captured and stored into my data warehouse. So that probably after 5 years, when you query the table, when you see the table, you'll be having 10 years data in it. But the new data every day which comes in after the full refresh or the one-time data refresh, how do you capture it? The challenge here is, let's say your 5 year data have, let's say 10 terabyte or 100 terabytes volume of data in it. And every day, if you see your transaction, you have just, let's say 10 million records, or daily 10 million records will be coming in on a day-to-day basis. So in that case, only the daily 10 million records needs to be loaded into your data warehouse. just because the 10 million record comes in on a daily basis, on an average, I don't want to load the entire data from my source system table to target in my data warehouse on a daily basis. That's a overkill. Okay, the data comes from the transactional database. That needs to be loaded in data warehouse incrementally. Okay, the challenge here is the millions of records in your OLTP database, may be found in your data warehouse, but we have to periodically refresh the data in the data warehouse in order to keep it current with your OLTP's recent data. See, I'll just explain a little later in detail, don't worry. So what is, first of all, let us understand what is one-time and incremental data refresh. Or one-time is also called a full refresh. Sometimes they use the full refresh. So the historical or the one-time refresh is also called as historical load, initial load, one-time load, or full load. All these terms refer same. So I call this an initial load. Okay, initial data load is to bring data into database the first time, which is nothing but, let's say, for example, in this case, 5 years back we started the business. 5 years data we have loaded as of 1st Jan 2023. 5 years data we loaded as of Jan 2023. Okay, fine. This is your one-time load. And then 2nd Jan onwards, whatever the data comes into your source system database, that data needs to be loaded into your data warehouse table way. That is your incremental. Any new data comes in, any changed data comes in, that data needs to be captured. Only that data needs to be captured and then loaded. For example, this 5 years data put together, you have, let's say you have 100 terabyte volume of data is there in your data warehouse. In your data warehouse, you loaded 5 years data. Okay, 100 terabyte of data is there. Or let's say, you have 1 billion records are there. You just think in your data warehouse, you have a fact table. In the fact table, you have 1 billion records you have loaded for the 5 years. Okay, for the 5 years as of Jan 2023. Okay, you loaded it in the fact table. But 2nd Jan onwards, whatever the data gets loaded in the OLTP system, that 2nd January data should also loaded into your fact table, because in the fact table you want to maintain history for 10 years. Okay, the 2nd Jan data, the volume of the 2nd Jan is 10 million. Only this 10 million data should get loaded in addition to the 5 years data, or which is nothing but the 1 billion data which you already loaded here. Okay, already this fact table have 1 billion record in it. In addition to that, since you got 10 million records on 2nd January, only this 10 million records should get loaded into your fact table in addition to this one. Okay. Besides this, you need to load this one also. Okay. But to load 10 million records, if you load it along with the 5 years data, what will happen? Every day you are adding. So already you have 1 billion records. 1 billion plus 10 million records, if you load it on a daily basis, it requires a lot of resources. It requires a lot of CPU, all the things. And also the refresh takes a lot of time. Okay. So in this case, what will happen is, instead of loading the 5 years data along with the 2nd Jan, 3rd Jan, load only 2nd Jan data, the incremental data, only load it into a fact table. So how do I detect the incremental data? How do I detect the incremental data? So that's where we can define the policies in the Power BI. As part of increment, we have something called incremental load option is available. There you can define the policy. Okay, so how, so from which state to which state, or how many days data needs to be loaded on an incremental basis. We can define the policy there. So now you understood what is incremental. On incremental basis, we need to load the data. We need to refresh the target table. In this case, the target is your fact table. The 10 million records comes from your OLTP system. Let's say your e-commerce data that is stored in another database, that is OLTP database. There you have order table is there in the order transaction table. every day, almost 10 million transactions are happening. Every day, the transaction, whatever is happening, post this full-time load, right, which is nothing but the incremental load, you need to load it. Only this record needs to be loaded on an incremental basis. That is called your incremental refresh. Loads the data that has changed or new information that has come since the warehouse was last updated. When the warehouse was last updated, according to this example, 1st Jan 2023 and 2nd Jan 2023, if any data comes in, new data comes in, it needs to get loaded here. And also if any data that has got changed previously, that one should also capture and then it should load. Only the change and then the new data, you need to load it into your fact table. You don't have to load every day the entire data. That will take huge volume of data. But even the one-time load, how we load it, it's not that we are going to load the 1 billion records upfront. So they create some partitions and they create multiple jobs, and each job they distribute 1 billion divided by this 20 jobs. Okay, so in that case the volume will get distributed evenly distributed, and all these jobs will run, 20 jobs will run in parallel to load the data into a target. So no one will load the 1 billion records upfront with a single job. Multiple jobs with different range of records, they will be loading it. Some condition, based on some condition, they will be splitting the data and then they will load it into a target fact table, the one-time load. So that since all the jobs are running in parallel, we can cut short the data load window duration, the one-time load window, we can reduce it. Okay, but in the case of let's say you are done with this everything, okay, you loaded the dog, okay, after a much battle, and you came up with different strategies to run the 1 billion data, divide the 1 billion data into multiple chunks, and then you load it all the chunks in parallel. Somehow you loaded the 1 billion records in the fact table. And the second job is what the data comes in, even that data should also get appended into your fact table. In that case, it has to, but in the source system, you have all the data there. In the source system, you have 5 years data, and even today's data and yesterday data also will be there. The source system table. But you need to smartly pick up the newly inserted record. In this case, for example, 2nd Jan, whatever the data came in, added into your table, which already has 5 years data in it in your source system. It has to identify the new record or any changed record, and then only that one needs to be loaded into this file so that the performance will be faster. The data refresh will happen in a pretty fast manner, or it will be available within the stipulated time so that the reporting users can see their day-to-day sales performance also on time. It reduces the resource consumption. The refresh is going to be more reliable. It will not break because you are just loading the chunk of the data here. And also the refresh window, the data load window, the duration is also less if you use the incremental load. Refreshes are faster and it requires very less resource consumption. The refresh process is very reliable and easy to set up. Okay, this is what I've been discussing about it. Let's take, for example, in this case, I have a customer table. The customer table in the OLTP system. Let's say this is your e-commerce data. Okay, you have a application, e-commerce web application. The users are raising the order here. All these details are getting stored here. Not only the order, the customer data and the customer's address data and the address data and price data. All the tables, product table, all the many tables will be there in the OLTP system also. The e-commerce data is there here, day-to-day transaction. So take, for example, in the case of customer, to store the customer information, there are 2 tables they used it. Let's assume that way in the case of OLTP because of normalization. The customer ID, what is the first name and the customer name and customer type. And here you have address ID. Okay, this address ID and this address ID, you create the relationship to get the correct or the appropriate address for each customer by joining this. So the customer information in the OLTP system available in two tables. What you do is you take this table, these two tables, and then you merge it and then put it in the staging table. Yourself will be merging it, because in the case of data warehouse, we don't keep many tables. Customer and address details will put in a single table. This is called denormalization. Denormalization. Okay, in this case, you join these two tables and then you load each customer's data along with their address detail here. You merge these two tables. We merge is join condition, okay, and then you load it here. And then what you did in your case, in your data warehouse, you have a customer dimension. It has both the customer and address data in it. You see, you have the customer dimension table. Table is available here. So in this case, what happens is the merged data, you merge the data from these two tables and then you do some kind of cleaning, data pre-processing, everything you do it. And then finally load the data into this customer dimension table, which is our data warehouse. Later point in time, let's 5 years data put together, you have close to five. In the case of Walmart, let's 5 billion users are there, 5 billion customers are there. Okay, but any new customer comes every day. New customers are coming in. They order it. Okay, not all the time. The existing customers only ordering the products with our website, e-commerce website. There are some new customers also. They come and they order the product on a day-to-day basis also. If any new customer, see in this case, what happened? We loaded all the 5 billion customers. For the last 5 years, 5 billion customers data into your customer dimension. This is one-time load. Okay, all my 5 billion customers, I loaded into my customer dimension table, which is available in data warehouse. This is one-time load. To loading the 5 billion customers data, it takes quite a time. It takes a longer time because 5 billion is a huge volume. Okay, once you load the 5 billion customers detail into this customer dimension table, is that enough? On a day-to-day basis, also new customers coming. Let's say on a daily basis, you get 1,000, let's say 100 new customers are coming on a daily basis. In that case, in this table, in this case here in the source system, still it will have the 5 billion records in it. Okay, but along with that, let's say today 100 new customers they came in here, 5 billion plus 100 records. The challenge here is of this 5 billion plus 100, how do I know which all customers came in just the new customers? How many number of customers are new customers today they ordered it? So you need to detect that one. Okay, so usually what will happen is in last update time and all they maintain in the source system table. I don't want to get into that one now. So in this case, what we need in the case of incremental refresh, first time we loaded 5 billion customers in the customer dimension. This is full load or one-time load. And then what happens is, let's say the 2nd January onwards, 100 customers each day, right? So this is 2nd January, 100 new customers, they came in. 1st Jan, we loaded all the 5 billion customers here. 2nd Jan, in the source system, in addition to the 5 billion, the 100 new customer data is also there. The system should detect which all customers are new customers. Let's say 100 customers. And then this 100 customers, you need to load it in the customer dimension here. Already this table also, here also it has 5 billion records. If you append the new customer, 100 customers with the existing data, that is fine. But the challenge here is you need to detect out of the 5 billion plus 100 records, which customers are new customers. Okay. So that we need to, but that, how do we define it? The date we defined here, right? So as of 1st Jan 2023, 5 years data of the customers, we load it here. From 2nd Jan onwards, if any new customer comes in, with the help of the date, we can find out here. So once this table, so this table, customer dimension table, should be up to date on par with the OLTP customer table. Got it? So now we will go and take a look at how we can implement the row level security. Sorry, incremental data refresh. Okay, what are the prerequisites for this to implement it? The date column should be there in the table, and it should be date time data type. What is the next prerequisite? The next prerequisite is a data source must support query folding or DBMS. For example, SQL Server, Oracle, Teradata. These RDBMS supports query folding, whereas in the case of MySQL, it is not supporting query folding. The data source must support query folding. Only then the incremental refresh will work. And then the data should be imported in the Power BI data model in the import mode. So with this, you can understand very clearly, direct query mode will, you cannot schedule the data refresh. You don't need it, direct query. You don't need the incremental refresh for direct query, because in the case of direct query, you are accessing the source system data directly. Okay, hence you don't need to refresh the data frequently. Okay, only those tables or files that you have loaded into your Power BI desktop with import mode, it requires incremental data refresh. You can do the incremental refresh only for these type of tables. And then the next one is, the next prerequisite here is the data gateway should run in your local system on premise. In my laptop, the data gateway should run. Without the data gateway, you cannot set up the incremental refresh. And what you need to remember is, for direct query mode, incremental refresh, you don't need it, because you are hitting the source system table directly. Even if any new data comes in, since you are reading the data directly from the source system table, it will pick up the up-to-date data only. But in the case of import mode, it requires data refresh. Like I said in the previous case, a full load, you did it. Customer data, let's say you imported it into your Power BI desktop once, and then you populated all the data. You just think that way, okay? And if any new data comes in, since MySQL server, sorry, the SQL server, Microsoft SQL server supports query folding, you can configure the incremental data refresh. So that what will happen is, only the newly included data or changed data only will be captured and then loaded into here. So these are the prerequisites. Okay, a date column should be there in your date table, and the data source must support query folding. The data should be imported in Power BI data in import mode. Data gateway should run in your, say, on premise. And what are the steps? Now we understood the prerequisite. How do I go ahead and create the incremental data? How do I configure it? So first you need to import the data into Power BI from on-premise SQL server. And then the second step, set up the range parameters. There's something called range start and range end. It is case sensitive. You need to create these two parameters, without which the incremental refresh policy, you cannot define it. Okay, you are done with creating two parameters. The next step is apply this range parameter to your column, date column. And the fourth step is define the incremental refresh policy. You can define the incremental refresh policy by following this sequence. So there are dependency here, okay? Unless these three steps carried out, you cannot go ahead and create the incremental refresh policy. And it will be something like this. So when you, in the case of, for example, when I go to the Power BI desktop, let me open something here. Let me do one thing. I will open. Is that already available? Because loading the Power BI desktop takes longer time. It is not there. I will just open a Power BI desktop. And here my database, my SQL server connection details. I'll just copy it. In the meanwhile, I just go here, connect and database engine. This is my SQL server name, and I just close it, and then I go here. Now my Power BI desktop got launched, and here I click on get data, and I'm going to use the SQL server database. Here is my server name, and the database name is retail. I know very well. Here I just go with the default connectivity mode, which is import. I'm going to click on OK. In this case, I need to select the table. Which table I want to import it here. This is a warning. You can simply ignore it by clicking the OK button. So in this retail database, we have two tables. I'm going to select the sales fact table. So it has a lot of data. It's okay, good. Everything is good. I'm going to hit load now. Now the sales fact table, which is available currently in my SQL server, that data will get loaded locally into my Power BI desktop because I have used the import connectivity mode. But don't ever do importing the fact table in your Power BI desktop, okay? Because the fact table in general will have huge volume of data. But if you have any aggregated fact table, in that kind of situation, if the volume of data is less, then you can go ahead and import it here. Look here, now the sales fact table got imported here. Since we have used the import connectivity mode, you can see the data locally here in the sales fact table. So these are the data that are available currently. Let's wait for some time. You can see that 96 rows are there here. 96 rows are there here. Got it. So now what I will do is I will load the entire 96 records. We have loaded the 96, entire 96 records into this table. Okay, this is kind of a one-time refresh. First time we loaded it. Okay. So now if I insert any additional data in my SQL server, the newly included data only should get loaded into my table here locally, where in my Power BI desktop. Okay, so let's say if I add 2 records in my SQL server, the 2 records should get appended here. It should not load once again the 96 plus 2. 98 records should not get loaded on a day-to-day basis. Instead, let's say today I insert 2 records. Already I loaded the 96 record. This is my historical data. Until day before yesterday, I loaded 96 records. This is my historical data. And yesterday we had some transaction. Today also we had transaction. We need the yesterday's and today's data needs to be included as an incremental load, not the entire data. Okay, only the 2 records should get loaded here. If in the SQL server table, if I insert 2 records, only those 2 records should get loaded in addition to these table data. 96 plus 2, the 2 records should get loaded. It should not be like just because I've included today 2 records, yesterday 2 records, already I loaded 96 plus 2 to 4, 900 records should not get loaded on a daily basis. Are you able to understand or not? This is very important. Okay, as of now, we have 96. And then I just go to the transform data and click on the transform data, Power Query Editor. We'll go and see what is happening there. Nothing will happen because we are just going to see the same data in the Power Query Editor. But here we go and see the order date. What is the first prerequisite to configure the incremental refresh? The first requisite is the date column should be there in the table. Yes, in this case, we have order date is available. And it should be a date time data type. Yes, it is a date time data type. Good, very good. And data must support the query forwarding. Yes, I'm using SQL Server. The data should be imported in Power BI data model in import data mode. Yes, we did this already. and then the gateway should run here. Yes, gateway is running in my system. The next step is I just go to my Power BI desktop and then keep the cursor over here, right click on it, and then you will find something called incremental refresh here. Okay, you will find the incremental refresh here. And if you see here, this is the table you want to configure it for incremental refresh. But if you see here, this one got disabled. Incremental, set import and refresh ranges. Before you can set up increment refresh on this, you need to set up parameters. You need to create 2 parameters. That is the first step. How do we configure the increment? The first step is import the data. Yes, fine. Set up the range parameter. Second step we need to carry out now, without which you cannot define the incremental policy here. So now I already opened the Power Query editor. Here I'm going to create the new parameter. 2 parameters I'm going to create. One is range start and range end. This is case sensitive. Okay, the S supposed to be capital. And here it is a date time data type. And then suggested value, any value, you can have the any value here. So what I do is I just go to the SQL server, and then I will go and check what is the minimum and maximum date are there in my sales fact table. So this is the one. So what I will do is I will just start date. I just copy this one. The range start is something like a start date. Okay. And then I just go and create another parameter, new parameter. This is going to be my range end. This is case sensitive. And here I'm going to use date time and any value. In this case, I just go and select this value, the maximum date. And then I'll put it here and click on OK. Now I will, so what is the next step? The next step is you need to apply the range parameters to your column. Okay, you need to apply the range parameters to a date column. Okay, using a custom filter. And then only you can define the incremental refresh policy. Okay, now we create the parameter. We need to use it. Where should I use it? I need to use it in the sales fact tables order date column. Here, I just click on this one. And then if you see here, if you keep the cursor over here and the next to the date time filters, at the end you will find something called custom filter. I just clicked on the custom filter here. And then here what I do is keep rows where order date is after or equal to. I'm going to say the parameter range start and is before or equal to. We need to choose, make sure that you are using this operator here. Is after so listen, in this case our what is the date here? The minimum date is 3rd March 2021. So anything after right is after or equal to 3rd March and after. You start with this and then before or equal to. Here you need to define this date here. Range end. Fine. I'm going to hit OK now. Yes, we can see the data is fine. Everything has been done correctly. Now I just go and close and apply. We have completed up to the 3rd step. The 4th step is we need to define the incremental policy. I just go to the table here. Let's wait for some time. It applies the steps, whatever we carried out to the model. So next, now only we are going to define the policy here, incremental refresh. When you right click on the table, you can find something called incremental refresh. And if you see here, this button got enabled now. We can enable it now, which means I want to enable incremental refresh for this table. Since we have created the two parameters, the range parameters, this button got enabled now. Before that, it was not enabled. And now what we do is here, I'm going to define the archive range. 1 second. In this case, what we need to do here, we need to define the one-time load and the incremental load also here. Okay. And here archive data starting. For example, here I just say 2 years. For example, if I say 2 year, and you have something called select value here. If you click on here, in the drop down, you will find days or months or quarters or years. I'm going to say years. This is kind of your full load, initial load. Load the historical data first, and then on an incremental basis, you need to load the data since the last full load. Okay. That is what we need to do it here. Okay, fine. The next one is incremental refresh data starting. So here I just say 2 days. Let's say 2 and here days. Okay, you just think this one as something like here. Okay, this one is something like load only once and never load again. It's one-time load. Let's assume that the 92 records. Okay, or in currently we have 96 records. Load the 96 records which belongs to 2 years. One-time load. And then what happens if any new data comes in after this 96 records, which is nothing but after the 2 years data. If any new data comes in, once in 2 days, you go and check if any new data comes in. The 2 days data alone, incrementally basis, you can append with the target table. So this is something like the rows that we want to reload each time. Okay, how many number of rows we want to reload each time? Okay, and the 2 days data we want to load it, and this is one-time load. You just think that it's one time, this is incremental. We define it now, and we have various other get the latest data in real time with direct query. So this one will work with only the premium license, and only refresh complete days and deduct data changes. Okay, did only refresh complete days. Okay, 2 days fine, but 2 days complete data you need to load it here. Okay, if the end of the day is not reached, then you don't load it. Deduct data changes. If any changes happen to this data comes in after the full load, you need to deduct that also. This I will discuss it later. Let's go step by step. Now we have defined the policy. 2 years data, you load it, you consider this as a full load, one-time load, and then onwards, for example, here it define the date here. So 1/1/2021 to 24/3/2023. Any data comes in after 24. Today is 26, isn't it? So any data comes in after 24 March 2023. That data alone you can bring it here. But so anything after 24 March is considered as an incremental data. But again, I just put another clause here, 2 days. So 25 and 26. Okay, every once in 2 days, you go and pull the incremental data, which means 25th and 26th dates, whatever the data we have loaded, only that data you need to bring in here. So that in your sales fact table will get loaded with the daily data on an incremental basis. The historical data you load it once, that's all, you never load it again. On a daily basis, what are the data comes in? With the incremental data refresh policy, you'll be able to load it. So I just go and click on OK now. Okay. The deduct data changes. This is a very beautiful feature, but it requires the date column, additional, the control date column should be available in your source system table also. This I will discuss it little later here. Okay, everything is fine. This is 2 years and 2 days. Okay, fine. So next I will click on apply, and you can see this, the image here, right? So 2 years before refresh date, 2 days before refresh date, archive. So this is your archive date. So what we are saying is 2 days before refresh date. Okay, 2 years before refresh date. So this which means the historical data, and then 2 years after refresh data. Okay, and which means the 2 days, right? 2 days data you'll be capturing it. That is what it shows, and I'm going to apply it now. I define the incremental data refresh here policy, and what I will do is I'll just go and select column chart. So instead of Y column chart, we'll choose the table visual here. And then next, I just select the location key column and then the sales amount column. I'm going to keep only these two columns in this. This is for testing purpose. Now we can see that in each location, how much sales we made in the Bangalore and Chennai, right? So all the things we can see. Good. Now I just save this one as incremental refresh. Next step is I'll be publishing it on cloud. In cloud, let's say I'm going to use Dev Sandbox. Here I'm going to select that workspace. That is a folder, okay? In the cloud, we have something called Dev Sandbox folder. In that folder, I published this report. Done. Successfully published it. And the next step is I just go to the cloud. Where is my cloud here? I go to the workspace again. And this workspace, Dev Sandbox. We have published that, sorry, not the Dev to Dev. So workspace here, Dev Sandbox. I just selected this workspace. In this workspace, we publish that report here. What is the file name? Incremental data refresh final, correct. So 26 March 2023 by 1 p.m. just now. Okay. So here, what I do is I just click on the refresh now. When you click on it, it is kind of a one-time refresh. Okay. We have already loaded the data, but still I'm going to redo the same thing. When you click on it, what will have something went wrong? Please select the gateway from data settings. There is some problem with the connectivity here. So before you configure the data refresh schedule, you just check by clicking on the one-time refresh. But in the real-time scenario, don't do it because the volume of the data for one-time load is very, very huge. But again, it is not our responsibility as a report developer or designer. It is not your responsibility to configure it. It's the admin responsibility. Here, what is the incremental data refresh final? Okay, this is the one. What I will do is I'll just click on the ellipses here, and then we have something called settings here. Settings, click on the settings. Okay, and this is where we can configure the incremental, we can schedule the data refresh. Okay, I'm going to click on the data gateway connection. Here I can see there's something called the personal gateways. Don't use personal gateway. Always install the standard gateway in your laptop. Here we need to define the connect string here. Okay, I'm going to click on this wheel icon, and here what I do is I just go and define the connecting here. So what I will do is look here, it opens automatically sales pack one. This one already I created it. So here okay, sales pack one is fine. And the next one is the data sources. Click on new, or else I will do it from the scratch so that you don't have to worry about this one. So for example, in this case, incremental refresh final, the data set. For the data set, in next to the data set, you need to click on the settings, and here select the gateway settings. So click on the wheel icon. We'll create a new one here. It opens automatically this one. What I will do is I'm going to say sales fact 2 or something like that. Let's see if this one works. Yes, we are able to create sales fact 2, and I'm going to close this one now. And then what I do is I'll go to the data sources, click on new, and here what I'll do is sales fact 2. This is the one I defined it a while back. The source name is sales fact table demo incremental, something like that. Give whatever name that you wanted. And then the next thing is the source type is SQL Server. You just type the type of the source, SQL Server. And what is your server name? The server name is, I think it is available here, not this one, sorry. So I just go to the SQL Server. SQL Server name. And the database name is retail. And then what to do is the authentication method is something like Windows. The username, your laptop name followed by that, your username and admin. And then I'm going to create it. You remember that the sales fact table demo inc, I just create this one. This kind of a connection string, okay? And then the next step is I just go back to the previous screen here, and I'm going to click on the gateway connection here. Look here, this is the one I created it a while back. And here I need to map it to this one, incremental sales fact table demo inc. So apply. Even for experienced people, they need some time to understand this. You can probably watch my video by pausing it and playing it back, okay, in this place. You cannot understand one time, okay, so you need to do that. So now fine, everything is fine. Now what I do is I just go back to the workspace again, and then I'll just go back to dev sandbox. Now if I go to the incremental data load, data refresh final, and here if I click on this one, the data set, okay, the incremental data refresh final data set, I'm going to click on it. And if you see here, something is loading here. So now we are pretty sure it will work if I configure the incremental load. This is one-time load. It does the one-time load. If you click on it, the refresh now. This icon is meant for refreshing the entire data, not the incremental data. Look here on the right side. Here you can see that something is rotating here. So that means it is still doing the data refresh. We have to wait until this one gets completed. You need to wait. But let it continue here instead of waiting there. In the interest of time, what I will do is I'll just go to the data set. Okay, this is your data set. This is your report. Okay, and here if you click on the ellipse here you will find something called settings. Again, I just go to the settings here, and here what I do is I go and check it is running since the connectivity is everything is defined correctly. It is good. Now it's going on fine. And the next step is scheduled refresh. I'm going to schedule it to on a daily basis. Add time. So now it is 13:10. So every, okay, what we will do is 1:30 p.m. I'm going to schedule it. So we have, let's wait for some time. And if you move up here, the refresh history will find some more refresh history. Here you can see that when I clicked in the previous, and you remember it was rotating it. It was doing the data refresh. The data refresh was in progress at the time. Now the full refresh got completed. This is one time load. You just think that way, okay? Since we have defined the incremental policy in the Power BI desktop, now for that, to check that one, I'm going to schedule it on 1:30 p.m. today. It's already 1:10 or 1:11. On a daily basis, 1:30 p.m. You refresh the data, refresh only the incremental data. Okay, I'm going to apply it. I applied it now. And then what we will do is we go and check the report here. This is the data we have it. Sorry, not this one. Let me just go and open the corresponding file there. Incremental data load final. This is the report. I will be opening it in another. Okay, let us do one thing. I'll just click on it here itself. Or I'll just open it here itself. Look here in Bangalore, we can see 205,000 sales in the Bangalore location. And if I go and see it here, hmm, yeah, I have used two from here. There is a mistake. And I click on this one. Let's wait for some time. And then if you see here, 105,000 record. Okay, why it shows more here? So 205,000 records in Bangalore and Pune. Is this the correct table? Am I looking at it? Yeah, it's correct table on the retail. Yeah, it since you remember I clicked it twice, right? It refresh somehow it refreshed it twice. That's why you make sure that you are not loading it more than one time. Okay. When you click on the refresh button more than one time, you'll get so 205. So how much? 105, right? So if you add this one, how much you'll get? So 2 lakh, yeah, it should come 10, right? Into 2, how much you get it here? So here you cannot do it directly here, it will throw an error. Select 2,11,000. There is something wrong here. 2,05,000. Bangalore location, right? This is yes. When you query this, Bangalore location, it should be something like this, but there it is something went wrong. And let us check here in the local desktop. Here, I just refresh it one more time. Two lakh 5,000. Some partial load and all happened. So 2,05,000. Okay. What happened here is so instead of 105,532.14, but it put two. Some problem is happened for. Yeah, all these values are fine. In Bangalore, some problem happened. And Delhi, everything is fine. But only thing is in Bangalore, some problem happened. Maybe I have inserted some data in between, nothing, right? Okay, let it be there. Let's not worry about that. I think I have selected this one also. It seems, I don't know. So let's see here. Okay. Now I have scheduled the incremental refresh by 1:30 p.m. 1:30 p.m. Right? I just applied it. What I will be doing here is I'll be inserting two records here. This record, if you see here, all the columns, the values I just put it here. Somewhere. For the date column, you cannot put the date in string, the codes. It will be considered as a string data type. Since order date is a date data type, you need to convert the string into date time. So we have used the cast function here. This is a built-in function. What this function does is it converts a string into date time data type, comma. So manually we are entering the values here. We want to test if I insert this one record, only this one record will get included in addition to the previously existing data. That is so. In that case, if you run this one, for example, here what I will do is I'll put big number. This is sales amount, 1,25,000. Let it be there. The date is on 26 March today. I just select this one. Now, yeah. So we did the one-time refresh first, and then if I that one-time refresh data got loaded, so that is what we are seeing it here. So in the cloud. So now what I do is I just go and insert a new record here. I'm going to hit execute. Yes, this data also got loaded here. The message says yes, one row, two row, and three row got affected. Why three row? Okay, this one shows the previous one. We don't use anything here, right? This is the execution plan. I enabled it. You will not see it usually, but only when you select this one, you'll see the execution plan. Okay, let us do one thing. I will just go to the result here. Okay, now we will execute this query, the group by. Let's see what happens. Two lakh 30,000. Okay, because I have inserted here with 1,25,000, 1 lakh plus 1 lakh, 2 lakh and odd. We are getting it. So already we have some issue here. Forget about that. And you can try it out. It will work correctly. I tested it several times. Okay. And this 1,25,000, if you add it with this 3 lakh and odd should come here. This one we can test it after 1:30 p.m. today. When we test it after 10 minutes, by refreshing it here, you will see the incremented value here. So, and then with that, we can conclude the incremental refresh is working. Now the question is, okay, it is fine. The 1,25,000 which have inserted just now because it is 26. As per the incremental policy, it has to pick up today's data. And in that case, what will the 3,30,000 will come here. 3,30,000. Yeah, here it is already. Okay, you've seen somewhere, right? Okay, 3,30,000 should come here. Got it? Sorry, here we need to refresh it. In the SQL server, I insert the data. The Power BI desktop, if I refresh it, what will happen is it is kind of a full refresh, but for testing purpose, we'll be doing it. Since the data volume is less, we will test it out here. Two lakh 30,000 records. But in this case, already 2,05,000 record, 5,000 is there. Since we have inserted 1,25,000, so 1,25,000 should get added this one, only this record. So in that case, 3,35,000 should 30,000 should come here. It will happen by 1:30. The scheduled data refresh will work. Now the question is, okay, this one will get converted to 3,30,000. With that, we can conclude that data refresh is happening. How do I make sure that only the only one record which you have inserted in your source system alone got loaded, or in addition to the previous record, this one also get loaded? How do I make sure that? For that, we need to use something called setting. If you want to test it, you need to have the premium license. Without premium license, you cannot, the premium per user license. But if you see here, I have just a pro license. But as a Power BI developer, if you know this much, that is more than sufficient when it comes to data refresh, incremental data refresh. If you understand the logic, the configuration part, okay, and in what you need to configure, how you need to configure it, if you understand, that is enough. In fact, the configuration job is to be done by the administrator. And then here till it gets refreshed, I just go back to the Power BI desktop, and if I right click on it, and if I select the incremental report, whatever the policy we defined, you can see it here. And we have something called deduct data changes. What is deduct changes? So what happens in this case is, if any new data comes in after this first full load happens, any new data comes in for the last 2 days, you just pull it and then load it, which means up to 24th, 2 years data got loaded. So 25th and 26th, after 24th March, 25th and 26th, if you find any new records for the last 2 days or the recent 2 days, which means after the full load, if you find any new records, every once in 2 days, what you do is pick up the 2 days, any 2 days new record comes in, and load it into the target. Only the increment data you load. 2 days increment data, you load it. This is new data. But if any data changes for the previously loaded data, how you can detect that? That is where the data changes. When you click on it, it will ask you the date column here. So which column can I use it to detect the changes? So what will happen is, in the real-time scenario, there are some projects I have seen it. In addition to the columns, the business columns, they kept something called last updated date. I think Ramya, you know that, right? Since you are into business, you must be knowing this one. So in this case, what happened? So these are the business columns: customer name, customer ID, customer type. In addition to that, they keep something last updated date column. If any new customer comes in, for example, A01, Ashok is a repeat customer, and the first time last update, so this customer, let's say you just he bought product by, let's second Feb 2023. Okay, fine. And this one already we loaded a one-time load. Okay. And for example, any other customer, A02, Rajesh, is also a repeat customer, or first-time customer, and he purchased the product today, 26 March 2023. So he is a new customer. He is not part of the historical data which we loaded it. Okay. And you need to, if I say historical data, you need to remember this one. Okay. 1/1/20/21 to 24/23, Ashok got loaded. In that load, Ashok data we loaded. Okay. Because 2nd Feb only he came and purchased something. Okay. So in that case, he got loaded already. But this customer, right? This guy, the Ashok got loaded as part of the one-time load, 2 years load. Next one is the Rajesh. This guy, he is a new customer. Today only he came and purchased. So say increment, only this guy's data will get loaded into your target data. So with this incremental policy, it automatically finds it and picks up fine. But for example, any data changes to the existing one. Okay, this one you load it as part of one-time load. What happens? This guy's address got changed. Listen, you have some address column. This address got changed. We wanted to overwrite the previous address with the current address. The same customer is coming in to my customer table, but this customer is already existing, but his address got changed. Shipping address got changed. You need to overwrite the previous address and you need to give. So in that case, what will happen? The last update date, though he became our customer by 2nd Feb, since his address got changed, we have updated his address today. This one, the last update date captures the date, thing, whatever the date, whenever you insert any data, whenever you modify data, along with that, the date will also get stored here. Sys date, system date. With this, we can find out any new customer came in after the full load. Okay, any changes happen to the previously loaded the customer data. Any new changes, any new data comes in, that needs to be in this case deduct changes. We have some deduct changes option is available. Deduct data changes. So you need to define this last update column. You need to use this with this column only we can find out, isn't it? This customer data went in the one-time load, 2 years load, we loaded it. Again, we have to load it because there is a change happened to shipping address. How do we know that this customer's data got changed? Because you already loaded. Always if you look at the new customer alone, not sufficient. The existing customer also, we need to find out if any changes happens to their data. That is the reason why they purposefully include an additional column called last update date. If any changes or any insert happens, this column will get populated with sys date. So with that, you can easily find out, hey, this one also falls in this window. Which window? 25th to 26th window. So pull that data also and load it. But again, don't ask me overwrite. You already loaded the data of the customer. Again, if you insert it, what will happen? We have something else called the SCD type 1, type 2, type 3. I don't want to discuss this now. I don't want to confuse you now. Probably when I cover the exercise, I will explain. So we are left with 1 more minute to see the data refresh. Let's wait for some time. In simple term, this Bangalore data should get increased because other data we did not disturb anything. We did not. We inserted one record, but that record is related to Bangalore. Okay. And if I go here, the settings page, and if you click on the refresh history, you can see the status here. It is not, this is on demand. So when I click, since I clicked it once, but I clicked it only once, I don't know why it shows 205, something wrong there. It shows completed. Now the 130 job is yet to kickstart. It will take for a few seconds. Now it's already one. Okay, let's wait for some more time. Sometimes, their time and our time, but time zone we mentioned it. Look here, it started in progress. 1:31 p.m. it started, scheduled, and it started. The incremental job, got started. So we know we configured the incremental policy, and we believe that only one record which we inserted, that record only will get inserted here. Is there any way I can test whether it is inserting the only one record? Because in the source system, SQL server, we already have 230,000. You should not reload the entire 230 again. Okay, it should load only this record. Okay, this record. This is related to Bangalore. Look here, Bangalore data. I inserted only one record, only this record. How do I test it? Logically, also we can test it this way. The other way of doing is you can go to the tools and the near something SQL profiler. There you can enable the trace and you can check it out. And the other option, you have something called settings here, not here. And if you go here, the Power BI Cloud Service. And if you go to the Dev Sandbox again, you will find something called settings here. If you click on it here, you need to select premium and premium per user. And then small data set storage format. We have some, large data set, forget about that. And this is the workspace connection. You need to copy this one. But when you copy this, so I have enabled the premium per capacity. With that only we can see it in the SQL server. If I save it, it will ask me you want to buy now or not now. It requires additional cost. Okay. So I just show you one more time. Let me just, I just click on the settings and go to the premium. This is for testing purpose, whether it inserts only the newly inserted single record or the entire record again. You need to copy this URL. Okay, and then so if I save it, it's not working. Okay, so if that saves successfully, then you copy that URL and you can come back to your SSMS, and then here in the toolbar, in the tools, you will find something SQL Server Profiler. Here database engine, but not this local server. They connect to the Azure cloud. Power BI, API.com, Dev Sandbox. This folder you can connect it. And if you click on it, you will find something called Azure directory, something. You need to select that one, and when you connect it, you can trace it. Okay, whether only one record is coming in here, only one record is loaded, refreshed in your target or not. That you will get to know here. Unfortunately, that requires the premium license. It's very expensive, hence I'm not using that. But if you know this much, if I refresh it after a while, look here, we have the data refresh option. Where is that? Okay. Refreshment next to the data set. If you go to the settings, and if you wait for some time, refresh history, if you see it, so you need to wait until the status become completed to test it in your report. It will take at least 5 to 10 minutes. Sir, we have 2,30,000. Already it shows 2,05,000 here in this report, 2,05,000. If this value doubles, that means 2,30,000 plus 2 lakh, which means 4,35,000. Then it is doing the full load. Or if this one will get incremented with this value 1,25,000 plus 3,30,000, then with this also we can test it logically. Am I correct? Ramya, you are BA expert. You can tell me if this approach is correct. The other approach is the best way is you can use the premium per user thing, and then with that cloud URL, you can connect it from your SSML, local SSMS in your skill profiler. If you log in there with that URL, it will show you correctly, okay, whether only one record went in there, or it will show something called partitions. Okay, you can see it there. This one show completed. What are the next topics? Next topics are like the subscription. We have something called subscription. Power BI Cloud Service. Yes, we will explore what is Power BI Cloud Service. The navigation part, everything we'll explore it. And then we will take a look at subscription. The subscription is a very good feature. With this, you can set up email subscription to send the periodical updates to people in your organization. So here you can schedule the report itself. For example, I want to send a specific report on a daily basis by 10 a.m. or 11 a.m. to so and so people, email ID. You can do it here. So the one what we are seeing here is this settings page is helpful to do the data refresh. By doing so, we can make sure that the values that are there in the report are up to date. For that purpose, we scheduled the data refresh. Apart from this, we have something called subscription option is there. With that subscription option, what you can do is you can schedule the report itself. You can send this report, convert this report to a PDF file or send the PDF file and then send it to your company, your managers and other stakeholders. You can schedule it. The report will get, so that, for example, every day 10 a.m. This page report has to be sent to 10 stakeholders in your company. You need to specify their email ID. Every day by 10 a.m. this report will get sent automatically to them. So now you understood the end-to-end process. First of all, this report should have up-to-date data in it. For that, this job should complete. Once this job gets completed, and this report should get sent to the stakeholders' email ID automatically by the scheduled date and time. That is possible with subscription. You can share the report via email by scheduling the report using the subscription option. Sometimes it takes 10 minutes or 15 minutes also. Any of the lists. Meanwhile, I'll open the another tab. Okay, in this we will see here. Look here. Here itself, see in the report page, the 3 dots, if you click on it, subscribe to report. Click on it, the 3 dot, and you have subscribe to report, subscribe emails, add new subscription. This is what I'm talking about. For example, the support at deep neuron dot and daily, the frequency. Look here, you can define the frequency also here. And daily, for example, if it is going to be after data refresh once daily, after data refresh once daily. And here, what I will do is or hourly basis. If it is an hourly base also, you can schedule it, and daily base also you can. Daily means or 7 days. Hence, it automatically selected everything. And if it is going to be weekly, weekly once or weekly twice. So, for example, every Monday and every Friday. Rest of the day, I don't need the data to be refreshed. Or Saturday, Sunday, let it be there. Okay. By 1:45 p.m. Yes. Not the 1:40 p.m. 2 p.m. Let's say 2 p.m. on a daily 2 p.m. or 2:15 p.m. The time zone is this one, and then I'm going to say save and close. What will happen is this report will be sent to this email ID on a weekly 4 days. By this time, it will be sent automatically. So this is my official email ID. That I will show it to you later once, in the next week, probably I will show you, okay, how whether this report has been sent to that email ID or not. Or I'll send you the screenshot also, don't worry. This is still in progress. Let us wait for some time. Completed. We are done with this. Now only the critical time starts here. So now it shows the same value here. If I click on this one, 4,45,000, it is doing it is clearly shows that it is 3,30,000 show, but earlier it was showing 2 lakh something, right? 2,40,000. The incremental refresh is not working. We need to check this one. Probably I will just validate and come back. Okay. But it is refreshing it as per the scheduled time. It got started and the data refresh happened. But it is, in Chennai also 405. 1 second, let me just see. Chennai is correct. Everything else is correct. Only thing is in Bangalore, it is multi. Let me just check here. 2,30,000. Let me just see one more time. It is 2,30,000. But previously we were seeing 2 lakh, right? 2,05,000. Yeah, it is doing correct only. 2 lakh something, right? So 2 lakh person, 2 lakh, 4 lakh. It is doing correctly only. Correct. It is doing correctly. But still, to make sure that the only one recorded which we inserted correctly going to this table, we need to use this option, premium option. With the premium only, we can get that thing. And if you go and check it in the SQL server also, you can go and check it. Okay. That I don't have that option. Okay. Even Pro itself, every month they are deducting close to 1,800, including GST. The EPU is a bit expensive, but this is more than sufficient. Now we understood how to schedule that, how to create the connection, everything. Now the data refresh is happening correctly, because previously it was showing 2 lakh and odd, right? So 2 lakh something. And now we have how much the value that we have inserted here. So the 1,25,000, 2,05,000. How much you remember? It will not show. If I give the back, it will not show, because this is not like a browser thing. It will not come from the cookie. So it is doing correctly. Okay. And here also I should not have done this refresh. Yeah, look here. This is 2,30,000. Yes, 2,30,000 plus 1 lakh. 3,35,000, right? Here, okay, it is doing correctly in that case, because initially it was 2 lakh and odd, right? Yeah, 1 second. I have that previous date also. My God. Okay, let me do one thing. Yes. In the other tab, it is available. Correct. Thank God. I did not disturb this one, the previous one. 2,05,000. 4,55,000. Okay, here 2,05,000, but here we inserted 1,25,000, isn't it? So in this case, 3,35,000, but there is something 4,55,000 it shows, because as per this, it shows 2,30,000 and plus 1,25,000. So 3 lakh, even in this case, it should come 3 lakh only. It was showing, initially it was showing 2 lakh, 5,000, right? So here it is 30,000, 5,000. Maybe some data problem. So I will just check it. Okay, I'll take the screenshot and probably I will redo it. Okay, so but I tested it earlier, it was working fine. There is some data problem because I clicked the refresh multiple time, more than one time. Because of this, I think I got loaded. First of all, the initial load itself, it was showing wrong value. I'll just check it and then come back. Okay. Okay, with this, I'm going to wrap up. You understood how to do this one. Okay, what is the subscription thing? I scheduled it by 2:15, 2:30 p.m. Right? We'll just check later, and then I will show you probably in the upcoming weekend. It will be there in the email. Now you can see that the subscription, using subscription, we can schedule that report refresh. You can schedule that in the report. Okay, you can forward the report by scheduling it using the subscription option. And here you have various other options. See related content, open lineage view. This is called data lineage. If you click on it here, it will show you from end to end where the data, what data we have used it here. For this report, it shows for everything. Okay, here it shows text CSV, so many things. Demo slicer, and this is the for everything it shows here in one go. We are interested in incremental data refresh final. Look at incremental data refresh one. Data lineage. It shows what is the source for this, from where the data comes in. So what gateway used it? This is the gateway used it. And in this SQL server, on-premise SQL server, we have scheduled the incremental data refresh here, and then the final. Okay, this is the data set, and this is the report. That's all. We don't have any more thing here. Okay, the rest of them are related to other report. So this the lineage, as the name suggests, right? For a specific report, what are the dependencies for this report? This is the data file. So whenever you publish a report, automatically the data file also get published by data gateway. We just published the report, but the underlying data, we did not publish it explicitly. That was done by data gateway. Okay, so for this, the data comes from this one. This is because this is the data file for this one. But for this, the underlying source data is SQL Server. The origin for your report, it will show here. Each stage, what is the origin? For this, the previous stage is this one, the incremental. So because once you load the data in import mode, that is part and parcel of the report. But that one, when you publish it, you will get to know the report file will get published along with the data file in the name of the report file itself get published automatically by this one. So hence this one depends on this one. For this, the data comes from here. Even for this, data comes from here. That is what your data lineage. It's something like, parent, grandfather, a father, child, something like that. For the child, who is the father and who is the grandfather? It's something like that. Okay. The data lineage gives you that one. And then the next one is what else? The settings, if you go here, not this one, Azure connections, all the things. Supposing your data is available on cloud, the same server, the data gateway is not required. In the case of incremental refresh, the data gateway is not required. If the database is available on cloud itself, in that case, the data gateway is not required. But still you need to schedule it. I go here, it shows only 2 times. Anyhow, we'll check and come back. Okay, what is the problem here? And if I go here, let me just see the, yeah, if I go here, let me see if I can do anything in the report. If I select this one here, if I go and do something filters, no, if I do edit, and in this case, I just close this one, I just select this one, and here I just go and say don't summarize. 1,25,000 is there. Look here, and 25,000, everything is there. So, okay. And let us go and check it, the same thing here also. This is another way of testing it out. And I just go and select here, and I just go and do and don't summarize. Hundred, 170, 200. Sorry, not this one, right? 100, 170, 200, 250, 300, 360, 336, and 450, 696, and 1080, 1500, and 25,000 and 1 lakh. It's correct only, no? It's showing it correctly, but why it shows the sum is different here? This sum of Bangalore sales is why all the transactions same. Here, if I do sum here, shows 4,55,000, but here the sum sales amount, if I go and sum it, come on here, what is the problem here? There is something wrong here. See the number of transactions. If you see here, for this one, it is it has to apply. Okay, let me see. Are there any other records? Are there apart from this one in the Bangalore? Can I see anything at the bottom? Nothing. Maybe with some other data, right? It is getting confused. Somewhere it is causing problem. Chennai 180. Can I see anything in Chennai 1800? Everything is correct only. With transaction level, everything matches. Only the problem is with the summary. But forget about the rest of the records. But here we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 transactions are there. 2, 4, so not this one. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 only is there, right? Then it is correct. Then it is correct. But why the problem here? Location key here. Did I use the location key as a location key only? Is correct only, right? But when I do this sum, why it shows something different? Here it is 455, and here the sum of sales amount, it shows 2,30,000. This is too bad. Here it shows something wrong, it seems. Or here, let's do it the manually thing here. You have something 1,25,000. I think here the sum is something wrong here. 1,25,000, 1,50,000. If you add all the things, it may not be 4 lakh, right? Something wrong here in the sum here. You can make out, isn't it? 1,25,000 plus 25, how much? 1,50,000. If you add all these things, it cannot be more than the 2,30,000, right? There is something wrong here with the total. Average 20,000. Okay, average is not required. Some only. There is something wrong here. Probably we will check again and then we'll come back. See, if you see the transaction level, everything matches, isn't it? There is something wrong here. Fine. I'm going to wrap up the session now. Any questions? Yes, I covered incremental also. And we have something called sensitivity labels. I think even the sensitivity labels also works with the premium version, premium license. the idea of the sensitivity, like once you apply the sensitivity label to any specific column, even you export it, export the data. For example, you have something called file and export to PowerPoint, export to PDF. When you export to PowerPoint and PDF, what are the columns you apply the sensitivity label? It'll be something like star star. So the highly sensitive data, even if someone export it, it should not be visible. Okay, so in that kind of situation, you can apply the sensitivity labels to specific columns. Even when you export it to PowerPoint PDF, you cannot see it, but when you export it as a CSV file, they can see the data. That is the difference here. And you can also embed this report to your website or portal. Okay, this is your, this is what embedded. Okay, for I just copy this iframe. I can use the iframe and copy it. I can go and include it in my website. This iframe. Probably I will ask my web developer to include that one, and that one also I'll show you. And the next session next week, what we'll do is we will do the dashboard creation, and we'll create the report design, and then we'll create something or stunning reports and other things. Okay. But yes, you have a lot of websites are available. You can shrink it. So online also you can shrink it. For example, if you go to the Google, shrink iframe URL online, something will be there. How can I scale the content of an iframe? Responsive iframe generate, how to automatically resize an iframe. But I don't know. So probably I'll check with my web developer and I'll come back to it. But a lot of that's how they do it. My web developers, what they do is, instead of giving the lengthy URL, there are some sites. If you go and you specify URL, it will reduce it and give you something. Okay. So how did you use it, Ramya, in Crystal reports? You must have done it, right? Embedded. How did you shrink it? Anyhow, from my side, I'll come back. Okay. So you did anything not in Crystal? Okay. So I thought maybe some option is on Crystal because you asked this question. Usually the web developer, they do it this one. Anyhow, I will check that one. I'll come back. Okay. If you need it. Usually you would take the from interview. Very good. You attended the interview already. Very good. Okay. So I will check and I'll come back. Very good. You started attending the interview now itself. Very good. Fine. I'll check and come back. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Since you don't have any questions, I will wrap up the session. Next weekend, we'll continue with the advanced part, like the dashboard creation, all the things. Okay. How do we follow the design guidelines, everything I'll explain. And also we'll discuss about the interview questions, all the things. Okay. Don't worry. We'll share the report. Don't worry. Okay. Fine.